When we first started this exploration of ancient Greek schools, we set out to shed light on some of the most pressing questions we have about education today. Along the way, we found some answers, discovering the origins of musical, physical, and liberal educations, uncovering the identities of some of the first schoolmasters, and witnessing the interactions between education and society. But there is one big question that we still don't have an answer for. Why bother learning? Why dedicate years of your life to learning about the world, spending time and money in the classroom when you could be doing anything else? This question has been haunting this series since the beginning, and I still feel like we haven't found a great answer. The truth is that this is not just a modern question, it's a problem that has plagued educators since the very beginning. We have spent the past 9 videos looking to ancient history for answers, but even the greatest minds of ancient Greece couldn't agree on a single reason. Luckily, we have one major advantage: time. We have seen the history of education play out over the centuries. We know the twists and turns that the story will take. In this final video, we're not leaving the Greeks behind. Their insight will continue to guide us. But today, with the help of thousands of years of history, we are going to answer the one big question that even ancient philosophers couldn't figure out. Where do we even begin to explore the history of education? I guess I would like to start with a quote from Aristotle's work Politics, translated by Benjamin Jowett. The existing practice of education is perplexing. No one knows on what principle we should proceed. Should the useful in life, or should virtue, or should the higher knowledge be the aim of our training? Clearly, Aristotle doesn't have any answers here, but his framework of breaking schools into 3 groups, those that train their students to do specific tasks, those that encourage people to live ethically, and those that only seek to enrich the mind, has become a popular way to think about education. After all, this is more or less the exact structure we have seen play out over the past 9 episodes. Let's start with perhaps the least common kind of school today: moral schools. To be honest, I can't think of many modern schools that only teach their students in order to form their ethical beliefs, but this was certainly a priority in ancient Greece. Think of Zeno's Stoa and Epicurus's Garden, 2 schools with curriculums that were designed to help their students understand their underlying philosophies. Epicureanism saw gaining knowledge as a way to find peace, while Stoicism's focus on education came from their desire to maintain their morals even as the world changed around them. There were no professional advantages to be gained from these educations, nor did these schools value the discovery of new information. Perhaps that is why these schools no longer exist as institutions of learning, but rather as moral philosophies, ideas that guide people toward education rather than impart it. On the other side of the spectrum, we have vocational schools, or as Aristotle would describe them, schools that are useful in life, trade schools. The best ancient example of this is Isocrates' School for Rhetoric, which trained its students in public speaking in order to become politicians. Isocrates taught his students many of the same courses as Plato and Aristotle, but he approached them in a very specific way. Students learned history in order to understand the political climate, or religion to make their speeches more personal. There was another kind of practical education in Greece, though: apprenticeship. Apparently, the famous doctor, Hippocrates, was part of a 7-generation-long lineage of physicians, each of whom had learned the profession from their father and passed it down to their children. There was even an archaic law from Athens that required fathers to pass their trade skills down to their sons. Apprenticeship continued to be a major form of education for the next few centuries. By the 1500s, medieval apprenticeship had become so important that it was a legally documented exchange. In fact, completing an apprenticeship was a necessary step to entering a craft guild, which in turn oversaw the apprentice's practical education. Eventually, these guilds would need lawyers to handle these transactions, and suddenly the first universities were formed. These early schools, like the universities of Paris and Bologna, initially aimed to teach students how to become lawyers, administrators, and business clerks, though today they have much broader goals. It can even be argued that the first universities in America were created to be vocational. Many universities, like Harvard, Penn, and William and Mary, were originally formed specifically to train future members of the clergy. Students were taught theology, of course, and how to read the Bible, but also navigation, history, and math. Although these subjects were added because they were considered necessary to live a practical professional life, they did start to blur the line into Aristotle's final classification of school. This category of schools might be the hardest to identify. Aristotle defined this type of learning as seeking higher knowledge, which we generally understand to mean expanding the world's collective understanding of the universe. In other words, Aristotle classified this third branch of schools as those that generated knowledge. Aristotle would certainly put his school in this group. So would his teacher, Plato. At the Lyceum and the Academy, students were free to study whatever subjects they wanted, as long as they continued to improve the school's knowledge of the field. Aristotle wrote books about biology and political science, while Plato's students made advancements in geometry and astronomy. Education in their schools was not geared toward any specific purpose, other than enriching their students' brains. This tradition of education for the sake of education not only found a home in classical Athens, but was eventually reintroduced to Europe during the Renaissance of the 14th and 15th centuries. During this time, ancient texts were rediscovered and analyzed by scholars. People began studying Aristotle and Hippocrates in universities, translating texts and applying ancient philosophies to their problems. From this rose humanism, an interest in the history and culture of humankind. People learned how to read, not just so that they could read religious texts, but so that they could appreciate the thinkers who had come before them. People studied science, learning ancient wisdom, not only to become doctors, but to join in the historical legacies of their fields. In a way, humanism kind of combined all three of Aristotle's categories. There was certainly an ethical aspect to it, focusing on individuality, free will, and the ability of men to do good and evil. Humanism was also known to produce students who would take jobs in government, religion, and of course other universities. And ultimately, humanism was a revival of Aristotle's third type of school. They believed that higher education was fueled by both the study of ancient wisdom and the pursuit of new ideas. Humanism as a unique subject eventually faded, becoming part of the larger liberal arts umbrella that we know today. Still, I think the answer to our question can be found in this educational philosophy, rooted not only in the ideas of ancient Greece, but in our relationship to all the advancements in knowledge that came before us. Humanism teaches its students about the world in order to keep our collective knowledge moving forward. It creates people who are interested in ethics and philosophy, who become doctors in order to heal people, or artists who can express the human condition. I believe that education introduces us to those who came before us so that we will be able to connect to those who will come after us. In a way, education is about learning where you came from and where we as a society are going. Funnily enough, this circles back to the very idea that started this whole video series. Education is important because it allows you to know thyself.